I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through, I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go, the only thing that I know. You were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. Why do you feel that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity. I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not.
Warning. The Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Helmet on, the world fades out. Focus sharp among the shouts. From the start to finish line, through the chaos we all shine. Grip the wheel tight, knuckles white. Thrill of danger heightens might. Crowds electric senses burn. In this circuit shadows turn. Lap by lap we chase the dream. Rivals eyes flash in the beam. Sweat and tears we fight as one. In the end we rise like sun.
Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here as we get set this afternoon to continue our race weekend from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. This is race number 12 of the second season of the NNSCRA Duracell Ultra Lite Series, the section of the season now just after the All-Star break that we're calling the push towards the playoffs. That's right, the Lite Series has playoffs. We didn't have playoffs last season, so really it came down to just consistency. Wins were obviously an emphasis, but max points each and every week, and whoever accumulated the most points at the end of the season ended up being crowned the champion. That, of course, was Eric Monaco. This season, though, you're doing a whole lot of different agendas to try and make your way into the championship hunt. You're trying to be in the top 7 in overall standings or get one of the coveted 3 wildcard spots in order to be a part of this season's brand new playoffs. And here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, it's going to be the longest race of the season for both the Lights and the Cup Series drivers. Coca-Cola 600 tomorrow afternoon, the Coca-Cola 200 here today. 120 laps on tap for 31 drivers. We've got about 5 Cup interlopers in here in preparation for tomorrow's endurance race. Some of our Lights drivers are actually going to be taking part in that Cup Series race tomorrow afternoon as well. However, the big story coming out of All-Star break has got to be, can anybody stop the hot streak that Cam Wright Jr. is on? Cam went into into Darlington the last time that we had the Lights drivers on track as the points leader. He had a pretty sizable, it wasn't a huge margin, but he had a sizable points gap between himself and Roberto Crown Jr. What'd he do? He went out there. He ended up going with a 2-tire strategy in the closing stages, gained a ton of track position, and was able to hang on to pick up his second win on the season. Subsequently, he has increased his points gap back to second place, 28-point cushion coming into this one, and being the only repeat winner on the season, he is clearly a favorite to potentially be a lock-in to the playoffs already, and we've still got another 9 regular season races left to run. He's got good starting track position here today as well, as he'll start up inside of the top 5 in the 4th position. The driver that is chasing him, at least the closest to his proximity chasing him, is Roberto Crown Jr. Now on the flip side, when we go to Darlington, he didn't qualify well. Because he didn't qualify well, Darlington is a very difficult track to pass at, so he was pretty much mired at the back of the pack the whole day, did not get the finish he was looking for. He lost ground. Now, Roberto Crown Jr. does have a victory this season at Sonoma, so he's in pretty good shape to lock himself potentially into a playoff spot. He's also got a pretty good cushion back to that 7th in the standings cut line, but there's that regular season championship on the line, which garners 15 bonus points once the playoffs are put together, which in a sense, really honestly, unless you have somebody that wins 4 or 5 races here this season, that's going to probably be in the regular season champion. It's going to put you up in the number 1 seed starting the playoffs. So there's a lot on the line for both the juniors, if you will, both Cam Wright and Roberto Crown. And they start in close proximity today as well, with Roberto Crown Jr. just kitty corner of Cam Wright Jr. in the 5th position. How about Skylar Taylor? Skylar really was on fire at the beginning of the season. I mean, he won the first race at Daytona. He was in the conversation for the regular season championship with that points for the points lead. And then all of a sudden he hit a bit of a cold streak around races 5, race 6. Started free-falling a little bit through the point standings. Last time out at Darlington, though, had a great run, moved up 3 spots in the standings. He's 4th in points coming to this one, 59 points back, and who knows, if he can go coast-to-coast pole to win today, get his 2nd win of the season, he might be able to get back into that points lead conversation. And we talked about the Cup Series interlopers. Well, one of them is actually going to make it an all-Mazda front row with Skylar Taylor, and that's Anthony McCrory. Now, Anthony on the Cup side is really struggling, so they've put him in the All-Star car at Garage 55 here this afternoon. Get him some more track time in preparation for tomorrow's Coca-Cola 600. We'll see. Maybe it can translate to a Lite victory. We've yet to have a Cup Series driver, a Cup Series regular, who is not running for Lite Series points, go to victory lane. We've had a couple of potential candidates. RJ Bishop was close at one point. Nick Gunther was close at another point. We even saw back at Darlington, Eric Sadler was up there inside of the top 5 in the closing stages. Maybe today is the day. As I mentioned, we've got 5 Cup Series drivers in the field here this afternoon, including McCurry. We also have Destin Bolin. We've also got Jack Mitchell, Reggie Fogelman, and Daniel Voiles. So we'll see. One of those drivers might be able to become the first Cup Series driver to win a Lights race, but there's another 26 drivers in the field that don't want that to happen. They want a victory. And I said this yesterday in qualifying as well. All of the Light Series drivers that are running for Light Series points, there are mathematical scenarios even now for all of them to still be able to make it into the playoffs. But each one's going to have to follow that road to the letter. We'll see who's going to be able to do it the best here this afternoon. Let's go down trackside. Let's get those most famous words in motorsports, and let's get ready to go racing here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Drivers, start your engines!
31 drivers going to take the green flag here this afternoon. You'll see your official starting lineup on the bottom right of your screen. Endurance race this afternoon, 120 laps. Maybe the biggest piece of data we have in preparation for this afternoon's race is the fuel numbers that we were given. We've been told anywhere from 60 to 65 laps that they can make it on a tank of fuel. And with 120 scheduled laps, that means that the pit stop, if we run green, could be somewhere around the halfway point. So obviously these drivers, their target lap would be somewhere past lap 60. Get that thing full of fuel and you know that you're going to be good to make it to the conclusion, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Light Series has been really good in terms of clean racing, but hard racing in the last couple of races. It's made pit strategy be very, very important. We'll see now as we head into the section of the season that we're dubbing the push to the playoffs. If we start to see that intensity and that aggressive level kick up just a little bit. Mazda's on the front row. The ST Racing Mazda, the Garage 55 Mazda. Skylar Taylor brings us through into the restart zone. Green flag is out and we're racing at Charlotte. Roberto Crown Jr. with a nice run down the back straightaway. We'll get to the inside of Nathan Fogler for second. Taylor saw the run coming, moved down to block going into 3, and will hang on to lead the first lap. But here comes Roberto Crown Jr. trying to whittle away every point he can between himself and Cam Wright Jr. He'd love the bonus point for a lap led here to close the distance up even more. Cody Majorek, though, taking a look. Stays in line. That'll open up the door for David Dixon to look to the inside for second place. Going to see a lot of multi-groove racing here this afternoon as it's daytime conditions. This racetrack's going to be slick. It's going to wear out these tires. A lot of big names qualified towards the rear of the field may have had their cars set up here for the long run race instead of that short run speed to get them a good qualifying effort. We'll see if some of those drivers towards the back of the pack start slowly working their way up through the field and up to the front as we're single file amongst the top three. Roberto Crown Jr., David Dixon, Cody Majorek now looking to the inside for the second position. Little gap back to fourth place, Juan Garcia. Chris Dollerton in the fifth position, but they're closing that gap up rather quickly as Majorek will move on by for the second spot. Several drivers up there trying to ride that high line through 3 and 4. See if there's anything up there. Some drivers, I think, kind of got stuck up there after starting this race from the outside of their respective rows. Anthony McCrory, who's on the outside of the front row, has already fallen back to the 15th position. Cam Wright Jr., who started 4th, has fallen out of the top 20. He was 21st last time by. So a lot of the drivers that had the benefit of starting on the inside line have been able to make forward progress to the detriment of the drivers that started on the outside line. But even Skylar Taylor, who started on the pole, is all the way back to 16th. We're looking at Juan Garcia in the 19, pulling right up to the back bumper of his teammate. 1-2 for the Trackhouse Racing Supras. Juan Garcia, former pole sitter back at Daytona. 16th in overall points coming into this one. Of course, we'll be talking about drivers that don't have a win, where they are in relation to 7th in the standings, as that's pretty much where you have to be in order to point your way into the playoffs. So coming into this one for Juan Garcia, he is about 25 points below that cut line area. Another of the Trackhouse cars have moved up into the top 5 there, the 20 of Eli Bright. Of course, we could talk about that win that he should have probably had back at Sonoma. Eli coming into this one in that critical 7th position in points, and leading the way now is Chris Dollerton in the Shell Pennzoil Dark Horse Mustang out of Michael Norman Motorsports. Chris Dollerton, he's knocking on the door of a points-paying playoff position. He actually was in the top 7 in points going into Darlington. Did not finish well, dropped out of that top 7. He's 9th in points coming into this one. However, he's only 10 points below that 7th in the standings cut line. So he could work his way back into the conversation here at the end of the day as Roberto Crown Jr. now looks back to the inside for the top position. There's one of our Cup Series drivers, Daniel Voiles, in the 23. He's got to be a very proud team owner, as his teammate in both Lights and now Cup, Kyle Langland, tomorrow afternoon will be making his Duracell Next Gen Cup Series debut in the number 93, starting up inside of the top 10 as well. I believe he's going to roll off the grid in 9th place. Michael Norman Motorsports, both their cars look like they're pretty good here for the long run. Dollerton leading, and there's the second entry, Michael Turner, former winner this season from Las Vegas. Michael Turner trying to get back into the playoff conversation, as right now he is one of 2 drivers with a win that is not in a wild card spot. He's the first driver out at the moment, as the 3 wild card drivers would be David Dixon, Aubrey Powell, and Dave Smith. So ironically, Smith right there in that 15 car, currently battling in the for the third position with Cap Batson, will now drop back to 4th, and now teammates side by side for the lead. Turner to the bottom, Dollerton to the top. If we're keeping track of that battle between Michael Turner and Dave Smith, Smith right now has that final wild card spot by, looks like about 29 points over Turner. But Turner now out in front, and if he were to get a second win, that would shoot him up to the number 1 wild card spot. Unlikely a win would move him into the top 7 as he's 21st in overall points. But, hey, if you're down there in the point standings now, you want the consistency, obviously. There's still mathematically a chance for every single one of the full-time drivers outside of the top 7 in points to accumulate enough points to get up into said top 7, even without fighting victory lane. There's still enough time in these remaining 9 races. However, if you don't think you've got a chance of that kind of consistency, if you think you can go out there and you can win 2-3 races, along with maybe 6 or 7 DNFs, but keep yourself in the top 30 in points for a wildcard spot, that might be what's on the agenda for some of these drivers as well. Cat Batson running right now in the second position. Matter of fact, Ford's sweeping the podium at the moment. Cat Batson coming into this one currently in the 19th position in points. She's got some momentum on her side. Had a great run at Darlington. Moved up 3 spots in the standings, so beginning the upward climb. And right behind her is Destin Bolin, who is a 2-time winner in the Cup Series. Last couple of Cup starts have been pretty good for him in moving him away from that 30th in standings cut line and driving that all-star car to Bishop Family Racing. Young Motorsports hoping that this will give him the track time necessary to keep the good consistency going as he looks to advance his way into the playoffs for the second time in his Young Duracell Next Gen Cup Series career. 4th position right now is Ralph Mason. Now the highest running of the Mazdas after a couple of Mazdas started on the front row. Ralph Mason coming into this one 10th in the point standings. Picked up 3 spots in overall points. He is a total of 14 points below 7th in the standings, and got to be looking forward to a couple of tracks coming up here near the end of the season. Road Course Ace. We've got Watkins Glen coming up in race 18. And look who's right behind him. Now into the top 5, Cam Wright Jr. Didn't take long after he faded back on the start for him to work his way up here back to the front. 4th position for the points leader, looking for his 3rd win on the season. Got around Destin Bolin, moving him back to 5th, and now hunting down the top 3. There's Cole Koibe in the 38. We mentioned about the fact that Michael Turner is one of 2 drivers that currently, 2 former winners, that is currently outside of the playoff grid looking in. Koibe being the other. Cole is 17th in the overall points right now. Driver he'd be gunning for would be Dave Smith, provided we don't have a different race winner here this afternoon. He's only 8 points behind Dave Smith coming into this weekend, so still has a shot at it after winning early on at Manassas this season. And another former winner not that far back, Aubrey Powell in the 71, who right now would have the 2nd wild card spot, 11th in overall points. Very easily could point his way into the top 7 at the conclusion of this one. Top 2 going to pull away a little bit here as we're side by side for 3rd. Cam Wright Jr. continuing the charge, now making the pass on Ralph Mason. Opens up the door for Cole Koibe, Roberto Crown Jr., Aubrey Powell, a trio of Supras down there. As Michael Turner continues to show the way. About the strongest we've seen Michael Turner be since his victory back at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Right now leading the Ford duo at the front, then it's Chevrolet, Toyota, the top 5. We're 20 laps in, and the field has almost completely flipped in terms of the fact that our front row, Anthony McCurry and Skylar Taylor, they were the first 2 to cross the line. When we took the green, they are now the last 2 to cross the line here. They're back in 30th and 31st place. So that says to me, they had a lot more emphasis on short run speed for qualifying and gave up as far as long run speed is concerned. Battle on for 6th. Dave Smith to the inside of Daniel Voiles. Looks like that middle groove starting to come in here on these older tires. Voiles going to hang on to the spot. So it looks like over in 1 and 2, inside line going to be a little bit more preferred. Outside line over in 3 and 4. A lot of people might consider Charlotte a bit of a cookie cutter track, the same on both ends. It's not actually the case. 1 and 2 is a little bit narrower, especially on the entry. There's kind of a dip down. Car wants to bottom out on the entry of turn 1. Over here in 3 and 4, it's a little bit more uniform, a little bit wider too, it seems. And so you can carry a lot more speed, which makes that second groove, and sometimes if you're brave, even that third groove, viable option. You just can't overstep the cushion or else you're going to end up in the wall. Plus the fact too, with the D-shaped front straightaway, if you end up getting a little outside of that cushion on the exit of 4, that wall greets you pretty quickly. And it's not as easy to save a race car when you hit the wall here heading onto a D-shaped front straightaway than it would be if it was just a regular straightaway. Cole Koibe now looks to the inside of Cat Batson for 2nd place. Michael Turner being fed all the information of these moves being made. You saw him kind of straddle the middle, try and block both lanes from getting an advantage on him, but Cole Koibe not wanting to be denied, trying to get his 2nd win here in the Lite Series. Koibe right now, the only driver, well, nope, actually I was just about to say an incorrect piece of information. Koibe is one of 2 drivers, there we go, that has won for the Haas Racing organization this season, Aubrey Powell being the other. And now battle will be on for 2nd. Michael Turner doing a great job here out in front in clean air. Won earlier this season at a 1.5 miles, so their 1.5 miles program appears to be very, very good. And now Cole Koibe, as soon as he worked his way up there to 2nd, he's about to drop out of the top 5 as he's been kicked up to that outside line. And you saw when he was kicked up there in 1 and 2, he lost a ton of ground. Let's see if he can kind of either gain back or maintain it through 3 and 4. He didn't lose a ton, but he did lose, and he's going to lose a lot more here on the straightaway. Draft's going to come into play as well. And he's going to drop out of the top 10 just like that as we're looking at the 41 of Brody Kupski. Now moving up into the 7th position. Good run this afternoon for the driver out of Adrenaline Motorsports. His teammate Dave Smith just up ahead there in the 15. There's a lot of drivers right there fanning out. Ooh, Dave Smith going to get the wall. There's what I was talking about. Overstep that cushion, and now I don't know if he's going to have right side damage, if that's going to affect him for the remainder of this run, but the tires are definitely wearing out. The grip is going away. Dave only fell back, it looks like, to around 9th or 10th, surprisingly. As here's the battle for the lead. Cam Wright Jr. to the inside, and he's going to make quick work of Michael Turner, the points leader, last time out's winner from Darlington, to the lead, being hunted down by the guy who's 2nd in the point standings to him, Roberto Crown Jr. Last year we saw the dogfight between Eric Monaco and Benny Watson. We might be seeing part 2 here with Cam Wright Jr. and Roberto Crown Jr., but there's a lot of other drivers that would like to get into that conversation. We haven't really seen up towards the front yet the 93 of Jackson Haywood. He's 3rd in points, 56 points out of the points lead. I think he's just there outside of the top 10. Last time by scored in 11th and now is going for the 10th position on Dave Smith. You've also got Skylar Taylor, we mentioned, is up there in the top 5 in points. Kyle Langland is 5th in the standings, 60 points out. We've yet to see the 26 car up here anywhere towards the front as of yet. Langland last time by was scored in 23rd. And Roberto Crown Jr., you saw, take the lead away from Cam Wright Jr., shuffled him back to the 6th position, and now the Beyblade Supra back out in front. About halfway through a fuel run from what we've been told. I think it's pretty safe to say, I think the field is going to get somewhat split up when we end up getting to a cycle of green flag pit stops if we get to that point. So I think more fuel is going to be consumed on the final run, which says to me you want to at least get past lap 60 before you make a pit stop. If we see anybody dive onto pit road before that point, then I think they'd have to go 2-stop. They'd probably have to do some kind of a stop and go, gas and go type thing, quick stop in the closing stages, probably in 10 to go, 5 to go, somewhere around that margin. Destin Bolin was hoping to keep his car out in front after leading a lap, and now he's going to get kicked to the outside, and here comes Roberto Crown Jr. back to the point. Michael Turner, who got shuffled out after leading a race-high 17 laps so far, now into second. Majoric's back up here in the top 3. Starting to see some kind of the ebb and flow here of drivers that get to the front, they lose the lead, they fade back, and then they charge back up to the front. Majoric got kicked back, he's coming back up. Chris Dollerton was out in front for 4 laps, he's now coming back up to the front. And the field is broken up a little bit already. I mean, you go back here, let's find the tail end of this lead pack, which I think right now would be around here. Yeah, Brody Kupski in the 13th position last time by. You got Sean Galligan just barely hanging on. Same for Nathan Stapleton. That's back to 15th. Then look at the gap. There's 16th place, Craig Batson. Mike Tellier in 18th. Well, actually, I believe he's now in 17th. The running order is kind of shuffled up with Aubrey Powell fading back. But look at the gap back here to this group, who appear all to be together here. Yeah, I mean, there's some, I don't know if something happened back middle of the pack that split these guys up the way it did. But I don't know if that group back there, that gap from Stapleton back to Batson, if they're going to be able to close it back up again here, or if they may have to rely on pit stops to get them back up in the lead group, which right now, if we include in Galligan and Stapleton, is comprised of about 15 cars. That's half your field right now. One, two for the Michael Norman Motorsports cars. And Blue Ovals now 1, 2, 3. Jackson Haywood. Mentioned we saw him moving up there inside of the top 10. Third in points. Looking for his first win of his career. $56 points out of the points lead. As of right now, where the other two in the point standings, at the top of the point standings are running, Jackson wouldn't gain a whole lot of ground on them. Roberto Crown Jr. right now in 4th. Cam Wright Jr. has faded back. He's around 13th, 14th last time by, but still up in this lead group. But I don't think at the moment Jackson's really thinking about points. I think he's thinking about that victory, because it makes your job a little bit easier in trying to advance into the playoffs if you have that win in your hip pocket. Now, honestly, I think that one win in the Cup Series can be enough to get you into a wild card spot. With the way that I'm looking at how this season so far and just the first 11 races is shaped up in the Lite Series, I think you're going to need a couple of victories to ensure yourself a wild card spot if you're outside the top 7 in the standings, because I feel we're going to have a lot of drivers, especially going to have more than 3 drivers with 1 win outside the top 7. I mean, we already have already. We've got, what, 5, I believe? Yeah, 5 drivers outside the top 7 with a victory right now, which means that only 3 are currently in wild card spots. 2 of them are not. And we've still got 9 opportunities for 9 more different drivers to go to victory lane. So I think you need to be a multi-time winner in order to absolutely ensure that you're going to be in the conversation for a wild card position if you don't finish out the regular season top 7 in points. As look at this, lead change. Dollerton going to get bypassed by Daniel Voiles. we mentioned earlier on the grid that Anthony McCrory was trying to maybe become the first driver to have a Lights and a Cup Series win in his career. Daniel Voiles, a Cup Series driver, would love to do the same. Yeah, we've yet to have on either side a driver have a Lights or a Cup Series victory. You look at some of the former Light Series drivers that have taken part in the Cup Series even this season. They were in Lights last season. Eric Monaco, the defending champion, yet to go to victory lane in Cup competition. Benny Watson's had a couple of tries up there. I mean, I guess if you want to put Benny Watson in the conversation, I mean, he is a former Cup Series winner, and then he did win multiple times in the Light Series last season. So I guess he would theoretically be the first driver to do it, but I kind of like to think of it as the first driver to do it since the Light Series was implemented, which would go back to Season 7 of Cup Series, obviously, in the first season of Lights. Blue ovals up at the front, though. 1, 2, 3. With Voiles, Dollerton, and Turner. Let's go back to the battle for fourth. Cody Majoric on the top side. Cole Koibe on the bottom. If calculations are correct, about 15 laps away from when we're going to start talking about green flag pit stops. And this is an easy pit road to get onto in terms of getting off the apron or off the racetrack onto the apron. The toughest thing is communication in letting people know you're coming to pit road. We've seen a lot at these D-shaped mile-and-a-half ovals where people will be getting ready to come to pit road, they get on the brakes, and the cars behind them do not get that information and run them over. And that can result in one of two things. Either one, it pushes the car that's trying to pit too far out, they miss the commitment line and are not able to make pit road, or two, it leads to a big wreck there in the corner. And certainly with what we've seen so far, these guys keeping it clean, some good green flag racing. We obviously do not want to see a bunch of torn up race cars at this point in time. So hopefully the communication will be good, and if we do end up seeing that green flag pit stop cycle, we'll be able to see it complete without any issues. Michael Turner moving to the inside of Daniel Voiles, and he's going to go back to the top position. I was looking back, and a couple of drivers are working their way forward. Remember Sean Galligan, Nathan Stapleton were just barely latched on to the tail end of the lead group. They have caught and are moving forward. Galligan now about to move into the top 5. Stapleton was actually up there in the 6th position. He just got kicked up to the outside groove and is fading back a bit, but keep an eye out for these two. Now in this lead group, and they may have something to say about this. Stapleton in his second full-time season. And then number 97, Sean Galligan, his first full-time season in Lights for Garage 55. And you look at both those drivers. Those are two drivers that really need a good run here this afternoon. Their first half of the regular season was not all that great for either one of them. Galligan currently sitting 24th in the standings with only one top 5 so far this year. That's also his only top 10, average finishing position of around 19th place. Nathan Stapleton, a little bit better, 20th in points with 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, an average finishing position of 17th place. But as I said, all drivers mathematically still have a shot of mathematically pointing their way up into the top 7, let alone getting a victory or two and putting themselves in the wild card conversation, as Daniel Voiles, not to be denied, back to the inside of Michael Turner to take the race lead back. But these Fords are about to maybe lose the stranglehold they've had up here at the front, because the Toyota of Cole Koibe is about to try and break them up. He's the lone non-Ford inside of the top 5 right now, looking for the 3rd spot on Chris Dollerton. And now we wait with bated breath here, entering into 50 laps complete, 10 laps potentially away from green flag pit stops, 10 laps away from halfway. Who can make it to that point or past that point to make this be just a one-stop race. Because drivers mid-pack rear of the field, more than likely they could be in danger even after a green flag pit stop cycle of maybe falling a lap down. We've already seen how traffic comes into play. Case in point, go back to our All-Star race weekend last week, and both the All-Star Open and the All-Star race, slower traffic definitely came into play in the outcome of both those races, but made for some exciting finishes, including the closest finish we've ever had in Duracell Next Gen Cup Series All-Star race history. Jack Mitchell just edging out Carson Gum for that one. And looking up here at the front too, we've had quite a number of regulars that have been up here inside of the top 3, top 5 most of this run. You know, you look at Turner, who's led the most laps, Daniel Voiles, Chris Dollerton, Cam Wright Jr., Dustin Bolin. They've all been up here towards the front of the field, so they've kind of taken turns. You could throw Roberto Crown Jr. in that conversation as well. They've taken turns in being out in front, which, you know, I know this isn't a super speedway, but it does follow still the same kind of fundamentals of using more fuel out in clean air, because if you're the car behind, you're having to probably feather the throttle, drag the brake a little to not run over the driver in front of you. So you're saving a little bit of fuel, although minuscule amounts in that regard. So whoever ends up more than likely being out in front for most of this run is going to be probably the shortest on fuel. And they're kind of going to be the Pied Piper when they come to pit road. That'll be an indicator of when everybody else is coming to pit road. And I feel like that 0-2 of Michael Turner might be the one that is the indicator of that, as he has led so far 27 laps this afternoon, the most of anybody. Daniel Voiles has led 8. Roberto Crown Jr. has led 8. Chris Dollerton has led 6. And then everybody else has led 1 lap. Dustin Bolin, Cap Batson, Cam Wright Jr., and pole sitter Skylar Taylor. We've obviously got Cup drivers in the field, but I guarantee you the rest of the Cup Series drivers that are not participating this afternoon, they are looking on to see what is happening here. I wondered if Sean Galligan in third might have been thinking about coming to pit road. He was very slow on the entry to turn 3. It might have been because he had that shallow entry, had to back his corner up a little bit more to be sure he hooked the bottom. You know, we're talking about fuel, but let's also consider tires here. Daytime conditions, very slick. These tires are certainly worn down. Looking at some of these front runners, they're running about a second to a second and a half slower than the fastest laps they put down at the beginning of this one. So you don't want to push up in the corner, carrying the type of speed that they're carrying in with the lack of grip now this far into a run. As Turner back out in front once again. But as I said, I guarantee you the Cup Series drivers, they're all observing this here, knowing that they're going to have a long one tomorrow afternoon, their longest race of the season in the Coca-Cola 600, last of the Crown Jewel races here in Season 8. Wow. You see Sean Galligan drive it in there on Daniel Voiles? Oh, I think the 0-2 is coming to pit road. Yes, he is. Actually, both the Michael Norman Motorsports cars are coming in. Dollerton's going to follow his teammate. And look at the lap counter. We're on lap 57, coming to the completion of 57. That's 3 laps shy of the halfway point. Cam Wright Jr. was on pit road the lap prior. He's just returned to the track. You saw Aubrey Powell also on pit road with the 2 Michael Norman Motorsports cars. Looks like Voiles has his hand out. He's coming in this time. So these drivers right now, these guys are all in danger. They're going to have to pit one more time before the conclusion. Kupski is in. His team owner Mitchell. Ralph Mason. Colin Grace, Nathan Fogler, and I believe that's Eli Bright back there behind the 27. Indeed it is, the Sunny D Toyota. Keep an eye out for who stretches it past lap 60, because those are probably the drivers that could make it the rest of the way after their pit stop. Here comes Koibe in. Galligan, Majoric. I saw a couple of drivers stay out there. I believe Cat Batson was one of them. Nathan Stapleton was another. So these drivers, they are trying to get right on that window. Somebody else also stayed out there, I believe. Might have been someone who already pitted. No, it wasn't. It was David Dixon. He also stayed out in the 45. And then I believe a couple of drivers in this group may have also stayed out. Langland, Garcia, Anderson, I think they all potentially stayed out as well. And a couple of them coming in. Garcia's going to stay out an extra lap. An extra lap. Stapleton is in. Cat Batson, I think, may have stayed out an extra lap as well. Oh, nope, she's in. So now I believe it's just the 19 that we're waiting on to complete this pit stop cycle. And he's going to go the furthest is Juan Garcia. So if you're looking at somebody in the closing stages when everybody else is either running out of fuel or maybe having to pit in the closing stages, look for Juan Garcia, who cannot get to pit road. Oh, he is going to make it, but barely. Oh, we got a wreck! That's Cody Majorek around! Chris Dollerton, Brody Kupski, Mason and Mitchell come flying in. More contact. Tellier, Batson. That flips the 66 of Mason over. The points leader gets into it. Cam Wright Jr. Caution is going to wave. More contact. Teammates. Dave Smith into Jack Mitchell. Massive pile up here from turn 4 all the way to the front stretch. Caution will fly right in the middle of green flag pit stops. A number of drivers collected. Eli Bright is all torn up. Craig Batson smoking. I believe the whole right rear quarter panel might be gone on his machine. Dustin Boland's got damaged. There's Ralph Mason, who was upside down on the front straightaway. Garcia completed his pit stop. Got another one smoking up here on the back straightaway. That's Jack Mitchell. A ton of drivers collected up in this one. Big wreck off of turn 4. Several other drivers piling in, and Jack Mitchell getting into Cole Coybe there, turning him around in front of the field. Not sure what the situation is there. I think there actually was just some contact with Michael Turner as well, who's led the most laps, and now this is where you don't want to be a race official, because everybody's going to have to try and figure out where everybody else is scored. We're going to have some drivers more than likely trapped a lap down or on the tail end of the lead lap, but let's go back and see what happened, because it looked like we were going to be fine. Juan Garcia barely was able to get onto pit road around Jackson Haywood, and then all of a sudden, absolute carnage out of turn 4, and it started around the 70 of Cody Majorek, who I'm trying to even find here. So it looks like Majorek had left pit road and was getting ready to merge back onto the track. Nobody else was coming to pit lane. So how did this contact start? Here's a look at it. We're going to take it all the way back to the back straightaway. Majorek and Dustin Boland, they keep it down on the bottom of the racetrack here through 3 and 4. Out of the way of faster traffic. And then Majorek just pushes up there into the lane that Chris Dollerton was in. Then watch this. There's Mason. There's Mitchell. Here comes Craig Batson. There's Mike Tellier. Eli Bright. Oh, I'll tell you what. We're going to have to do an onboard with Roberto Crown Jr. because he just barely got through that. Let's go to the 66 of Ralph Mason because he spent an awfully long time in this wreck. Running behind Jack Mitchell. Wreck occurs right up ahead. Mason goes to the bottom. He gets Majorek. And then here come the more shots. One from Batson. Up and over. There's Cam Wright Jr. He gets into the back of Brody Kupski. Anthony McCurry gets through. There's Dave Smith getting into Jack Mitchell. At least a dozen drivers, if not more, involved in this one. And here's the onboard I want us to take because Roberto Crown Jr. probably should have been involved in this wreck, and he wasn't. Here's onboard. Take a look at this. splits in between Craig Batson and Eli Bright. So close there for second and points. Roberto Crown Jr. nearly involved. Couple of others got through nicely as well. Anthony McCurry, Autumn Brooks, Colin Grace all getting through that. I believe our pole sitter Skylar Taylor was able to get through. But that caution completely turned this race on its head, as now, as we bring it back to live, Cat Batson is the new race leader. Nathan Stapleton into second. And remember, a number of drivers came to pit road about 3 laps prior to halfway. These pacing laps under caution could be a godsend for them to be able to make it the rest of the way. Now, might be able to save that fuel that they were originally lacking. We've got a little disagreement back there of who is in the 5th and 6th positions. Scoring had Cole Coybe as 5th place, Juan Garcia in 6th, but they can't seem to settle that out. We'll hopefully have that all figured out in a minute. But we can update you on the drivers that are out of the race. Those would be Cam Wright Jr., who came in as the points leader, so that is huge in that regard. Jack Mitchell, Ralph Mason, Craig Batson, Dave Smith, and Cody Majoric. Remember, Majoric was in the conversation to maybe point his way up into the top 7. So too was Ralph Mason. Dave Smith came in the final wild card spot. So, boy, that's some interesting names that are not going to reach the conclusion. Chris Dollerton is currently scored a lap down. He's right now ahead of the leader, so he'd be on the tail end of the lead lap. I don't think anybody really knows what's going on at the moment. Cole Coybe is still back there trying to get up in front of Juan Garcia, who does not seem willing to let him up there. Now Dollerton fading back here to line up to the inside of the race leader. Not a very organized start here, but it'll be Cat Batson, Nathan Stapleton, Jackson Haywood, Sean Galligan, Cole Coybe the top 5, then Juan Garcia. Wes McCoy's now up in the top 10 and 7th, with David Dixon, Jordan Anderson, and Kyle Langland the top 10. 25 drivers running, 24 on the lead lap here. For our first restart of the afternoon, green flag back in the air. Now the question is, who's got the fuel to get to the conclusion? Tough break there for Chris Dollerton, who's obviously off the pace after being out in front for 6 laps this afternoon. Looks like he had at least a top 5 race car, but caught up in that incident off of turn 4, as here goes the battle for the lead. Nathan Stapleton to the inside of Cat Batson, and for the first time this afternoon, well, actually, no, not the first time this afternoon. This will actually be his 2nd lap led. He actually led one during that green flag pit stop cycle as well. I believe Cole Coybe in the 38 is on pit road, so maybe he had an issue. Maybe that's why he was out of line there. They were trying to diagnose what was wrong, whether they should bring him to pit lane or not, and that's why he was out of line there with Juan Garcia, even though our scoring had him in the 5th position. So it wasn't an argument over space. Looks like it was a preemptive to avoid an incident move by the 38 car, who still sits on pit road. We'll try and figure out what the problem is there for the former winner from Manassas. Garcia, though, that caution worked out perfect for him because he restarted up inside of the top 5 after being the longest driver to stay out on the green flag run. And look at another driver whose fortunes turned with the timing of that yellow. Wes McCoy now up into the 2nd position. Cat Batson coming back onto the racetrack after what can only be assumed an unscheduled pit stop. After restarting from the lead, not sure what exactly that's all about. But now she is on the, I believe, tail end of the lead lap. And also, we've only got 6 cars up in this lead pack. Where did everybody else go? Man, it really broke up the rest of the field. You got 2 cars back here in 7th and 8th. Roberto Crown Jr. and Nathan Fogler. And Kyle Langland back here in 9th, and, well, a few cars here in this group. Then you got a bunch of damaged goods back here from about 16th on back. Hoodless Eli Bright, Hoodless Michael Turner, Daniel Voiles there, Dustin Bolin with the buckle on his hood. I mean, just look at all the torn up machines here. Now for Juan Garcia, again, he would have the most fuel of anybody else since he pitted the latest, but at that same time, I don't know if he wants to spend the entire rest of this race out in front, because that could put him back in the same category as everybody else on a big question mark on whether you can reach the conclusion or not. Sean Galligan looked like he wanted to go for the top spot, could not find enough room to the inside, got checked up, and now Nathan Stapleton will look to the bottom for second place. You know, you kind of look at drivers with the longest winless streaks here in the series. You know, there are a number of drivers who returned for a second season in Duracell Ultralights, and Nathan Stapleton would be one of those drivers. He was full-time last season. Was unable to find victory lane, and so far this season has been winless. Trying to see who else would have fit into that category as well. Nathan Fogler, I believe, would have been one. I think those might be the only two, because I think everybody else who's in this for a second season has all won a Light Series race either this season or last season. Roberto Crown Jr. was a winner both this season and last season. Skylar Taylor, who, let's not forget, was not full-time last year. He ended up starting the season late back in season 1, but he's been to victory lane multiple times between last year and this year. Kyle Langland is a former winner. David Dixon's a former winner. Oh, Kat Batson actually would be one too. Kat has not won a race yet, so Stapleton, Batson, and Fogler would currently have the longest winless streaks here in the Light Series. As you saw, the leaders making their way around the wounded machine of Chris Dollerton. Looks like most of the front runners there. Yep, your top 6 all were able to get by, well, your top 5. They've also got Kat Batson, the lap machine, in this group. She has been put a lap down to the leaders. Cole Koibe has returned to the racetrack. We've got 3 drivers off the lead lap. Batson -1, Dollerton -2, and Koibe -6. Juan Garcia got the season kicked off with a bang. Got his first career pole at the season opener of Daytona. Since then, he's accumulated only 1 top 5. He's had 3 top 10s. His average finishing position isn't bad, 15th place, but when you consider that we get normally a median of 30 cars each week, that's only just barely in the top half of the field each week. Trackhouse Racing with only 1 victory so far this season, that courtesy of Roberto Crown Jr. back at Sonoma. And Garcia now getting a challenge as it's a Ford contingency hugging the white line with Jackson Haywood, Nathan Stapleton, and the lap car of Kat Batson. You look up here at this lead group. All of these drivers chasing the same thing, their first career win in the Duracell Ultra Light Series. You got to go all the way back to 8th place to find, or I'm sorry, well actually, according to scoring now, back to 6th place. Jordan Anderson for your highest former winner. David Dixon behind him in 7th place. Let's check in on that group. Actually, there's the group. It's just Jordan Anderson by himself. And he's running lap times right now a little slower, not by much, but a little slower than the drivers up there in that lead group. He's about a few hundredths off. Jackson Haywood just ran a 31.911. Anderson ran a 9.76, so about 5.6 100ths off of this group. I don't know if they race each other enough up here in this lead pack. Is that enough for a single car to be able to close up? More than likely not. This is the group Anderson has to worry about if indeed draft comes into play in terms of lap times. Cole Koibe, the lap machine, leading this group. Autumn Brooks now up in the 7th spot there with Roberto Crown Jr., Reggie Fogelman, David Dixon, and others. That caution turned the fortune of Autumn Brooks as well. Before the pit stops began, Autumn was actually running down around dead last, around the 29th, 30th, 31st position, and now up here inside of the top 10. Wants to be, looks like, the lead car of this group, getting by the lap machine, the 38 car. And indeed, they are closing up on Jordan Anderson. We'll keep an eye on lap times. This group is turning faster lap times than the front group by about 1.5 to 2 tenths. So if draft indeed does come into play, then these guys might be in trouble. They may not have this cushion all to themselves for very much longer. Right now, it's about 5 seconds from this group back to that second pack. And they are about to catch up to another car here. Actually, a few cars, including the slower machine of Chris Dollerton, but also Brody Kupski and Mike Tellier, who are on the tail end of the lead lap, but obviously off the pace with their damage. And they're going to catch them actually quicker than I thought. They're on the same straightaway as that group of race cars. Looking back at lap times, yeah, it still is about 2 tenths advantage to that second group. They may end up getting stalled out a little bit once they've caught Jordan Anderson, but I think with this traffic coming up here, I think that second pack may be able to get up here, and if they do catch, then we're going to go from about 5 lead lap cars in the lead pack to as many as about 15 lead lap cars. So how's Juan Garcia going to do in terms of traffic control? Catches Brody Kupski here on the back straightaway. Couldn't get enough of a run to make a move to the inside here going into turn 3. Look at him held up on the bottom, and look at the run Stapleton's able to get. Garcia's going to go down to block. So Stapleton has to ride in line, at least for the time being, nose to tail. Now they'll try to get to the inside of Mike Tellier going through 1 and 2. Tellier going to fight them. Leaves them only about half a lane. And now they'll have to make the move off of 2 onto the back straightaway. Let's see about third place on back, how they do with this slower traffic. Galligan, Jackson Haywood, and Wes McCoy. Oh, this is not going to be a good spot here, as we might be double wide, creating a barricade with the slower machines. Galligan trying to find some ways around the 41, and it's not happening. And this is great news for that second group, because they are closing in very, very fast. Galligan's going to get pinned in. Jackson Haywood's going to get to the inside, but even he's going to get pinned down the inside line behind the 41. These lap machines are not playing nice with drivers in the latter portion of the top 5. It's allowing Juan Garcia and Nathan Stapleton to run away with this thing, at least for the time being. Now, Juan Garcia, we already documented, was one of the last drivers to come to pit road just before our only caution of the day. I'm trying to remember how long Nathan Stapleton stayed out. I think he stayed out a couple laps past when some of the first drivers dove in. So now it's a mano-a-mano. Do they have the fuel to make it? Who's got the better long-run car? I think just visibly, if you go back to the first run, I think Nathan Stapleton may have the better car on the long run. We saw Juan Garcia up at the front in the early stages, but as we waned closer to halfway, Stapleton, we saw him be able to catch up to the lead group and made forward progress up into the top 5. So I would say the JBL Ford probably has the better long-run car, but also bear in mind that when we had that pit stop, gave the opportunity for crews to make adjustments on these race cars, so they may have made the 19 car better. Closing in on 30 laps to go, checking in on lap times. That second pack still has the advantage. They're about 3/10 faster than those other three of the top five back in now the little second pack, and they're about a 10th and a half faster than these top two. Question is, can they make up the ground in enough time? This group here finally got themselves around Kupski and Tellier. They're on the back straightaway. The other group has just caught Kupski. They're coming out of turn two, so they're only a few hundred feet away from getting up to battling it for inside of the top five. Reggie Fogelman leading the charge past Brody Kupski. Let's see if he can get to the inside of Tellier here on the straightaway. Yeah, they're going to be a lot more efficient getting around these guys than third through fifth were. You see still all these stragglers back here. These guys are all in the camp of needing a caution. I think right here, Powell, McCrory, and Fogler might be the last remaining drivers that are up to speed back to 17th place. Then all the rest of these drivers back here are sporting damage in some way, shape, or form that is obviously hindering the handling of their race car and especially their top speed on the straightaways. Let's keep an eye here at third place. Let's watch what the strategy is of these guys as they're currently being reeled in, but they in turn are trying to reel in the top two. Wes McCoy pulling away from Sean Galligan. But Sean has just looked like he's had a very tight race car. Can't seem to be able to run the bottom there through 3 and 4. That's the second time that we've seen him really check up on the entry to turn 3. And it looks like they might have caught Chris Dollerton, the top two did, and Stapleton got around him quickly. Juan Garcia did not. That breaks the top two up even more, and here comes third place on back with a big head of steam. They're going to catch Dollerton here coming out of 4, make their way to his inside down the front straightaway. So Juan Garcia is about to be swallowed up, and I think by himself Nathan Stapleton will be as well. Let's check in on that other pack, which is not that far behind. There they are. They can see the leaders. They're now in the same straightaway as the rest of the top 5. They got to make some pretty quick work here of Dollerton, which it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. He's going to hold them up through the middle of 3 and 4. If they can get around him quickly, they definitely have enough time to get up here in the conversation, not only for a top 5, but really for the win. Stapleton trying to put the pedal to the metal, get away as quickly as he can without the aid of draft. It all comes down to consistent lap times for him now. We are going to have some more drivers up ahead momentarily. About 5 seconds ahead are the trio of Destin Bolin, Michael Turner, and Eli Bright. As look at the run that Juan Garcia was able to get from turn 4 to turn 1. He closed up about 8-9 car lengths, and now he's going for the lead. The draft is very prominent here with these lower series cars. You saw it right there. Now as they go side by side, that's going to stall both of their momentum. Advantage, third place on back. Teammates side by side for 6. They got to get themselves single filed out here if they're going to have a shot of getting up there and catching the top 5. Galligan moving by McCoy for 3rd. And there you see, same shot. There's your top 5. This thing is not over. There are still plenty of laps to go. Little less than 25 to go, this time by 23 remaining. Galligan's got a whiff of draft on Stapleton. He's bringing Wes McCoy along with him. And now the question is about that other group back there, Fogelman, Anderson. Those guys were about 4.5 seconds back. Looking at lap times right now, They're just about even with this front group. If this front group gets all caught up and starts racing each other, that might help the second group out. But right now, they are kind of at a stalemate. You look at these drivers and their positioning and points as well. Every single one of the top 4 absolutely can use this win. Garcia coming into this one 16th. Stapleton 20th. Galligan 24th. Wes McCoy 23rd. The only driver right now that doesn't absolutely need the win is Jackson Haywood, since he is currently up in the top 7 in points, but he certainly won't say no to a checkered flag, because that could pretty much be an insurance policy into his first berth into playoff competition here in the Lite Series. You saw, maybe just for a moment there, just up ahead, that trio of slower cars I was talking about, Bolin, Turner, Bright. They're going to get caught before this race is over. That second group back there certainly hopes that they get caught, as now they're only making up roughly about maybe 0.2 a lap. They're going to need a lot more than that here. They're going to need anywhere from 5 to 0.6 of a lap, as they're currently about 5.5 seconds away from the top 5. Actually make it the top 4, as Jackson Haywood has kind of lost touch with this lead group. Stapleton feels it's time to battle as they close in on the traffic. He looks low into 3, can't make the move. Wes McCoy pulls right up to the back bumper of the JBL.com Ford. Less than 20 to go here from Charlotte. There's the traffic, and they're double wide up ahead of them with Bright and Turner. Those two are battling for position. They could care less if they're holding up the leaders. Which lane do you take? Inside line might be the way to go, as Juan Garcia gets pinned up. No, instead his teammate Eli Bright moves down and blocks Stapleton. Now slips up the racetrack. Stapleton, he'll get by Garcia for the lead. Now he'll look to the inside of the 20. Another slow car added to this group, the 40 of Chris Dollerton. That's going to hold up Juan Garcia even more. That's going to hold up Galligan on the inside line as Bright moves low to get around the 40 machine. Stapleton again, efficient in traffic control. Going to pull away with the lead, but now he's getting held up by Turner. Here comes Galligan getting by Eli Bright. He's going to close up for the top spot. And again, the question was, that caution that came out, drivers that were short on fuel, did that give them the insurance to make it the rest of the way? Or will we see drivers panting, coming to pit road, completely dry on fuel in the closing stages? Galligan to the bottom on Stapleton. He'll move by for the top position, but still has 2 cars to clear in front of him. The gap is not closed up with that second pack, so it's looking like it's going to be a 5-horse race here at the front of the field. 5 drivers, all looking for their first career wins here in the Duracell Ultralight Series. Galligan committed to the bottom. He'll now get by Turner. He'll go to the inside of Dustin Bolin. Kat Batson is a lap machine. She's going to follow him. The battle for second now is between Stapleton in the 97 and Garcia in the 19. Add Wes McCoy into that mix. Jackson Haywood, with these drivers getting held up, he's back up in the conversation in this top 5. But Sean Galligan now clear. Lap cars between himself and Stapleton, or are they? Kat Batson wants her lap back. She's going to move to the inside of Galligan. She'll get back in the tail end of the lead lap. Galligan now has the door left open. Here comes Stapleton trying to stick his foot in. Can't quite get the run down the back straightaway. Car got a little tight on the inside of the exit of turn 2. Galligan will hang on for the time being. Kat Batson is up to speed, had the unscheduled pit stop after restarting as the leader. So she is not a slow machine these drivers would have to contend with. She is fully up to speed and able to battle with these front runners. Well, you saw all the sparks out of the tailpipes there, all these cars bailing out of the throttle heading into turn 1. Wes McCoy now looking for second. Trying to become the 3rd Haas Racing driver to go to victory lane this season in the Lite Series. Jackson Haywood back in 4th. Juan Garcia currently in 5th. Checking in on that second group. They're closing, but it's not going to be enough time, I don't think. They are currently about 3.4 seconds back from the front runners. And they'd have traffic they'd have to deal with before they got up here. You got Michael Turner and Eli Bright back there. Destin Bolin is in this group as well. He's a lap machine that appears to be slightly off the pace. Let's drop back to that second group here. Here they come. They're barreling up, trying to catch up as quickly as they can, but they've only got 12 laps to work with. Is that enough time? That's back to 12th place Daniel Voiles in this group. They've got to get around the 20 and the 02 literally immediately. They can't wait. And they're going to catch the 20 in the corner. That's going to slow them up. That could be it for them. I don't know if they'll have enough time. Back up at the front. Battle is on for the lead. Galligan and Stapleton. What a crazy race it's been here this afternoon from Charlotte, as twilight starts to set in here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Closing in on 10 laps to go. Race ran green up until the round of green flag pit stops. A massive pileup on the front straightaway, taking out 6 drivers and damaging several others. Cam Wright Jr., who came into this race the only multi-time winner and the points leader, one of the DNFs this afternoon. We'll have to wait and see what the fallout is in terms of what the point standings look like at the conclusion of this one, and we may not be done with traffic. There's more traffic up ahead for these drivers to deal with. That's Mike Tellier and Brody Kupski, who, remember, gave these guys quite a bit of a headache the first time they encountered them. .7 seconds from the lead pack back to that second group with less than 10 to go. If these drivers hold up these leaders again, I think that's exactly what the second pack wants. They've gotten around Turner. They've gotten around Bright. At least a few of them have. Roberto Crown Jr. leading that charge. He's got Destin Bolin to deal with. The lap car of Cat Batson. Brody Kupski up to the top. Stapleton will get to the inside, but now we're double wide, boxing him in ahead. Tellier getting by Chris Dullerton. These drivers going to get woed up once more. Galligan pays the price in that one. He's going to fade all the way back. He's about to lose the 5th position, because here comes Roberto Crown Jr. Here comes Reggie Fogelman, Daniel Voiles, and others. They may still have a shot at this thing. Coming around to 7 to go. Is that enough time? Stapleton gets clear of the traffic. McCoy follows in tow. Tellier still holding up Juan Garcia. Here comes Jackson Haywood. He'll go to 3rd. 3 wide now. Up the middle goes Garcia. All of a sudden, Roberto Crown Jr., Reggie Fogelman, potentially Daniel Voiles, Jordan Anderson, David Dixon, all may have a chance at this thing. Lead change. Wes McCoy to the point. First time he's been out in front here this afternoon. Can he hang on for 6 more laps at Charlotte? Nathan Stapleton now moving to the inside to take the lead back. Stapleton's led 12 laps this afternoon. Daniel Voiles has led 11. Michael Turner, who's now a lap down, led in the early going 28 laps. But Juan Garcia's got the bonus point for most laps, led 31 circuits out in front here tonight. Coming to 5 laps to go. And look at Roberto Crown Jr. He knows that Cam Wright Jr. is out of the race. He smells blood in the water. 28 points difference between him and Cam Wright Jr. for the points lead. Roberto Crown Jr. for his 2nd win on the season. And he's up to the 3rd spot. Juan Garcia now trying to make his way around the lap car of Cat Batson. Stapleton still in control of this race. He is hoping, he is praying that these are going to be the fastest 4 laps ever ticked away. car on pit road I just saw there. Was that a lap car getting out of the way, or were these regularly scheduled stops? Not sure. Mike Tellier, Destin Bolin, a couple of the Bishop family racing cars were just on pit road. Are we going to have a fuel strategy race here in the closing stages? Is there anybody that can't make it? Here comes Garcia. Nice cross to the inside. In front of Tellier, to the inside of Stapleton. And now to the inside of Destin Bolin. Garcia's going to go to the point. Looked like Eli Bright, Destin Bolin, Mike Tellier were some of those that pitted. Machines that are off the pace and off the lead lap, but any of our lead lap cars, can they all make it? I think someone might be pitting because someone's way up the track there. Yeah, here comes Stapleton and Galligan. They couldn't make it. Wes McCoy is in as well. Reggie Fogelman missed pit road. I think he might be out of fuel. No, he's under power. He just lost a ton of momentum. Jackson Haywood right there. He couldn't make it. And remember, Juan Garcia was one of the last drivers to come to pit road during the green flag cycle. He could be the only one to make it the distance. The white flag will be displayed this time. A strategy call going all the way back to the midway point of this race. Could be what pays dividends. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go. Juan Garcia, if he runs out of fuel, then it's Jordan Anderson who could capitalize. He has also stayed out. Same for David Dixon in the 45. That's your top 3. Keeping an eye on Garcia's telemetry. He's still under power. Through 3 and 4. Juan Garcia's gonna make it on fuel. Juan Garcia gets his first career win today in the Coca-Cola 200 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. What a win for Juan Garcia. Came into this one with only 1 top 5 in his career. His second will be a big one, as he may have won himself a spot into this season's playoffs. He was 16th in overall points coming into this afternoon. He'll capture Trackhouse Racing's second win of the season. And a big strategy call all the way back at lap 63 is going to be the deciding factor for him. I believe both Anderson and Dixon also were amongst those that stretched it pretty far around the halfway point. So no surprise they were able to reach the conclusion as well. But it indeed came down to fuel strategy, which is why the Lights and Cup Series drivers have here at Charlotte their longest race of the season to bring those type of nail-biting fuel strategy finishes to fruition. And we got one here. A lot of drivers, though, going to be really shuffled up in terms of where their finishing results are, as we had a handful of other drivers that looks like they were able to make it on fuel. And we will see the end result of it here. Juan Garcia, Jordan Anderson, David Dixon, and Reggie Fogelman, according to scoring, they all were able to make it on fuel, as was Anthony McCrory, who's going to net a 7th place finish after all of that. He was back in that second group, tail end of that second group, outside of the top 20, and he'll end with a top 10. First car off of pit road that had to pit in the closing stages was Daniel Voiles. He'll finish in 5th. Aubrey Powell will finish in 6th. Nathan Stapleton, who ended up leading, 14 laps this afternoon. He is going to finish back in 8th. Wes McCoy in 9th. Roberto Crowd Jr. will be the last driver on the lead lap after all that. He'll finish in the 10th position, with Cam Wright Jr. finishing in 26th. And I believe, did Cam lead a lap? Yes, he did. Roberto Crown Jr. did as well, so cancel out that. So just the difference of 16 positions between those two means that it will be a 12-point advantage, Cam Wright Jr. over Roberto Crown Jr. heading into next time at Hillside Raceway. The rest of these drivers finished a lap down or more. Kat Batson in 11th. I believe she actually made it on one stop, didn't she? Yes, she actually made it the rest of the way. She had that unscheduled pit stop, remember, at the drop of the green flag for the restart. She stayed out the rest of the way and actually finished in 11th place, albeit the first car one lap down. Kyle Langland, going to be making his Cup Series debut here tomorrow afternoon, gets 12th. Autumn Brooks will finish 13th. Sean Galligan there in 14th. Jackson Haywood in 15th. And then Michael Turner, Colin Grace, Nathan Fogler, Skylar Taylor, the pole sitter, and Destin Bolin, the rest of your top 25 drivers finished this race, only 10 on the lead lap, and then 6 drivers out of the race. Of course, the big one was Cam Wright Jr. coming off all the momentum from the end of the first half of the regular season with his second win at Darlington. DNF here this afternoon. Also include into that Jack Mitchell, Ralph Mason, Craig Batson, Dave Smith, and Cody Majoric. Number of those drivers were around the conversation of pointing their way in, being in a wild card spot for the playoffs. May see a lot of shuffling in that regard once everything is calculated in preparation for Hillside. But congratulations to Juan Garcia. Had enough fuel to get to the end and gets his first career win here in the NNSCRA Duracell Ultra Light Series. Hope you guys enjoyed today's race from Charlotte. If you did, be sure to give it a like, subscribe, part of the crew today. We showed you your full finishing results. You're now looking at your updated point standings. Tomorrow afternoon, it is the Cup Series drivers, as we are going to be here to cap off what's already been an exciting race weekend from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Longest race of the season for those drivers with the Coca-Cola 600. We won't see the Lights drivers for a couple of weeks. We've got Cup drivers at Progressive Super Speedway next time, and then the doubleheader at Hillside in a couple of weeks. That'll be the next time you'll see Light Series drivers on track. But until then, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.
The following has been a presentation of NNSCRA TV for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the consent of the NNSCRA is prohibited. NNSCRA would like to thank all of our loyal fans, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.